So, hello and welcome to the Man from Hildebrand. I'm in my scruffs because I'm filming this on a Friday night, only because I'm not going to have time to do it over the weekend. Because my bond room will be absolute chaos. So I had suggested to replace the wardrobe, only for the missus to then take it a step further by replacing the old fucking lot. So I've got to dismantle the bedroom, chuck a load of crap in here, and weekend is going to be absolutely hectic. So, forgive me for not being in my usual attire. Yes, this week it's I mean, as the dust settled on the Amazon takeover, because it's only been announced just over a week ago, it's people are still like thinking this could be a good thing, and people are saying this is fucked. A lot of comments and stuff I've seen on social media is that it's more to do with the fact that this is fucked. We've had a few kind of reports and stuff. So a bloke called Andy Jesse, who is the head of the kind of film department at MGM, has basically said, he is basically, reassuring us that they will look after it. They treasure bond, and they will do the right thing. Nothing has been planned or anything. Nothing is in development, and I should think that's so. The actual final deal for Amazon and Eon is finalised in May. So once that's done, nothing else will. Until then, we will not hear anything. Talking of which, there is now rumours of I can't remember her name now, but I've never heard of her. Some blonde-haired somebody Hugh, I don't know. Anyway, she's rumoured to be the Moneypenny in a TV adaptation of the Moneypenny Diaries. This is obviously bullshit, and it's actually quite refreshing to have who will play Moneypenny as opposed to who will the next Bond be. Talking of which, if they adapted the Moneypenny Diaries, I would be absolutely over the moon, because they are really, really, really good books, and it's. I kind of am a little bit hopeful that since Amazon have now got creative control, they might, and I hope they will delve into the archives of Ian Fleming publications a little bit more, which leads to another thing that Ian Fleming Publications had done a statement, basically, they're privileged to have worked with Barbara and Michael, and that they are looking forward to receive orders from M, also known as Amazon. Now, Eon and Ian Fleming Publications didn't. I mean, I don't think Michael Wilson was a huge fan of the John Gardner novels, and obviously Spectre, they kind of used a bit of dialogue that was written in Colonel Sun, which they had obviously credited to them, credited in the end titles. I mean, I'd like to see more stuff from Ian Fleming Publications, because, more adaptations from them. So we'll see. But yeah, so there's also been a bit of talks on how a lot of the previous Bond stars are kind of shocked. A lot of people who work with Eon and who were close to Barbara were totally shocked by the decision. There is an interesting report that there's two theories to why Barbara had done what she had done. The first one, which I think is probably the most plausible, is that after 30 years of doing Bond films, her and her brother, she's just tired. As I said previously, they are massive productions. I mean, the Pierce Brosnan era was hunky dory because I was pretty consistent. As soon as we got to the Daniel Craig era, there was a lot of issues with mainly the studios, and I think she just didn't want to be dealing fuck ups with the studios again, which I kind of get. So the fact that she was tired and she just wanted to basically just jack up, I think is more plausible. The second theory is that basically Jeff Bezos, however you pronounce it, he kind of obviously heard the fact that Broccoli had referred to them as fucking idiots, and he was like, okay, we need to sort of get her out, let's pay her off, sort of thing. I'm going to probably go more with the first theory. So yeah, I'm going to be discussing two things, and this is going to be a very controversial podcast episode. If I offend anybody, well, that's down to you. It's a subject which I need to get it off my chest. It's also very difficult because it is controversial and it shouldn't have to be controversial, but I also don't want to be compared to a bald-headed twat who lives in Australia, who us Bond fans know exactly who we're referring to, because he is just a sandwich short of, well, the bloke's fucking nuts. It's screw loose. I'm not going to mention any names, but I know, I'm sure you know who he is, and I'm sure you now kind of got the gist of where this episode is going to go. So, I think the two concerns for us Bond fans to why, I think it's pretty safe to say that Bond will not be the same as we once knew it. Now Amazon have got charge, it's going to be different. It's kind of really, really scary because obviously nothing's been confirmed, so we are kind of in unknown territory. So obviously, Bond's been around for 60 odd years. The reason why it's been successful is because it keeps up with the times, it evolves. There's, Bond fans who are frightened of a cinematic universe, which I have noticed a lot on Facebook, and I don't know if this is down to the algorithms, but there's not really much mention on social media on whether or not we could possibly be getting a black James Bond or a non-white James Bond. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna save the latter till the last because that's a bit more controversial. But yeah. So Amazon want to do a kind of a Marvel style cinematic universe, which, for us Bond fans, as I said previously, it'll probably saturate the series, it'll kill it. It's just not what I'm up for spin-offs, but it's got to be little and often, and it's got to be very well crafted and very well done, and we need a showrunner. Amazon need somebody who's, like Kathleen Kennedy was with Star Wars. We need somebody. Kathleen Kennedy's now retired from Lucasfilm Disney. Whether or not she's going to take over Bond, I don't know. But we need somebody who understands the franchise and somebody who knows what we want. Because with Bond, I suppose it's like Star Wars and Star Trek, is the fact that, yes, you've got to keep it moving, keep it evolving, bring in younger generation, bring in, in Star Trek's case, new generation. You've got to, attract younger audience. You've got to keep up with the times. But also, you've got to respect your older fans. Now, the thing with Marvel is the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as we know it, it's probably been around for 15, 20 years, which is fine because that is for today's generation. That is what they're used to. Now, if you're a super duper Marvel fan, brilliant. Now, I kind of, a while back, began to watch Marvel, and I did it in the chronological, I don't even know if chronological is the right word, actually, because I basically watched them in the order that I was advised, which doesn't necessarily mean it was made, in the order that the films were made. So I think I started with Iron Man, then I had to go to Captain America, and then back to Iron Man 2, and then Avengers, but then I had to watch certain episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., then I had to watch Agent Carter. I got from Iron Man to the Guardians of the Galaxy, and I just thought, fuck this, I ain't got time for this shit. Because what was happening is, by the time I got a chance to actually sit down and watch a Marvel film, I didn't know what had happened in the last one to kind of connect these references. And I thought, no, for today's generation, I say, if you're a super duper Marvel fan, you must have nothing better to do, or you must have a lot of time on your hands to sit and watch it and process it all, because my head was just absolutely fucked. And Bond, yeah, I think, I mean, I suppose it's a bit like Star Wars and Star Trek. You've got. I'm not saying that the fan base for Marvel or Bond is any bigger or the same, but I think with Bond and Star Wars and Star Trek, it's a lot more, age differences. You've got, especially with Bond. I mean, you've got fans who are still with us today, who are in the 70s, 60s, 70s, who were around. They went to see Sean Connery in Goldfinger as a kid, and they've kind of been committed to the franchise ever since, which must for them be a really cool thing for them to just watch this legacy grow. So you've got to sort of keep up with today's times, but if you go too contemporary, you're going to totally lose the older fans. And then also, if you kind of derive too much from the character, then that character's no longer going to be Ian Fleming's James Bond, and you might as well not call him James Bond. So it's a real sort of fine balance. So yeah, I mean, Marvel. Who knows? I mean, that is, one of the things which you spoke about a lot on social media is that they do not want a Marvel cinematic universe. I get it. I'm okay for spin-offs, but it's got to be little and often, and sort of, kind of very well crafted and very well done. Moneypenny Diaries. That's a great way to start. If you have not yet read them, then you can buy them off Amazon. But they are very good. What I will say is that they are in the same kind of concept as a John Pearson biography, where basically James Bond is a real person. Moneypenny is believed to be a real person, and the books, the three books, jump forward and backwards to present day into the past and stuff. Whether or not, if they ever do a TV adaptation, I'm kind of going off subject now, whether or not they'll just include the present bit, I don't know. But anyway, if you haven't got them, just pop over to Amazon, get them on paperback, because the hardbacks are really sort of rare. But, just give them a whirl, just see what you think. But yeah, I think for Amazon, that'll be a really good starting point. So anyway, yeah, we don't want a cinematic universe. Now this is a bit where I'm probably going to lose followers. Very controversial. But the other thing is, will James Bond become black or non-white? My theory is that, according to the December the 20th Wall Street Journal, when Barbara called Amazon fucking idiots, there were certain bullet points that Michael Wilson couldn't get to high level hierarchy. Greg Wilson, Michael's son, was kind of up for making Bond non-white. Barbara was somewhat pushing against it. And then obviously there was, Amazon wanted to expand the universe, do TV series and all this, and obviously, they then said James Bond is just content, and is he really a hero? But that second bullet point, Barbara was pushing against it. Now, in the reports recently, since they've now got creative control, Barbara is apparently now, kind of open to it. My theory is that I was very lucky to go to the No Time to Die premiere, thanks to a certain individual, and you know who you are. Michael Wilson came up on stage. Well, everybody did. The cast and crew came up on stage. Barbara and Michael did a speech just before the film started. The speech was very much Michael's goodbye. This was going to be his last one. And then probably a few days after No Time to Die, I kind of started, reflecting on it, thinking, well, with how the way the world is and what, society and all this, the next actor is going to be black. And I'm thinking, you know what, if the studios start pressuring Barbara in casting a black actor, Barbara's going to walk away. Because I don't think Barbara deep down wants a black actor. There's a bit of, I'll go into that, in a minute. And the thing is, if they casted a black actor, it would be huge. It would be absolutely huge news. She'd be interviewed left, right, and centre. She just wouldn't want it's not. I mean, she can't exactly say, "Oh yeah, the studio's pressured me into it." It's a bit like in September, or 2021, just after No Time to Die, they said the next Bond, they've got to reinvent the character. The next actor's got to be British, male, and in his 30s. She never specified, it's got to be, white, which obviously she's not going to say that because it's just not the thing to say. So it's all that is open to interpretation, but obviously, she's not a daft woman, she's a very powerful woman. So, she's daft not to say anything stupid. That's going to make her look bad. But yes, if you read The Search for Bond by Robert Sellers, it goes through every actor that was considered for Bond. There's, no black actors were considered, right? This whole rumour, this obsession that the media have got with the black James Bond started in the 90s when Colin Salmon, who I think is now starring in EastEnders, so he must have obviously hit a rock bottom in his career. But Colin Salmon, he played Charles Robinson in Tomorrow Never Dies and Die Another Day. When they did screen tests and auditions for the Bond girls, Colin Salmon would step in for the part of Bond, and they would obviously film it. Brosnan saw a clip of Colin Salmon in a tux or whatever as Bond, and he says, "Wow, we make a gay James Bond." That then got to the press, and that was it. The black James Bond rumour, or myth, or whatever you'd like to call it, it started. And then, obviously, Idris Elba was then rumoured, but it was never considered. Why did Cubby never consider a black James Bond in the 80s? Why did Barbara never consider one in the 90s, or when she was looking at Daniel Craig? It's... And this is where it gets tricky, because thing is, if I say, I'm against a black James Bond, which I am, that doesn't make me racist. That's like branding me a vegetarian because I don't like bacon. Well, you need to ask yourself a lot of questions. Is it just bacon he doesn't like? Does he like sausage as well? Does he like beef? Does he like pork? Because he never mentioned that. Is it just bacon? Well, don't know. Might not be a vegetarian. Well, no, I'm not. I like my meat. I like sausage. I like my sausage. In fact, I prefer sausage to bacon. I find bacon a bit salty, but sausage, yeah, sausage is very nice. A prawn salad's also tastier. Giggity giggity goo. So yeah, it's probably thing. Yeah, James Bond for me is white. It's a white British. That's how he was written. That is just how his. That is what he is. And to cast a black James Bond, I cannot fathom the point in it. I don't know what point. I don't know how that would benefit the series. I don't know what point would be made. Obviously, Disney have done it a lot. They're casting black people for parts that were previously played by white people in the past. Doctor Who, they've had now a black person and a woman, which they can get away with it because Doctor Who's an alien. But in my eyes, if you cast a black person as James Bond, you might as well just chop the penis off and have a woman, because it's totally different from the character. And yes, people are probably going to lose their shit because it's a fictional character. Well, for hardcore Bond fans, it's surely. I mean, this isn't me being racist. This is about a bit of common sense. It's just absolutely. I don't know. I just cannot get my head around it. I mean, I'm absolutely open to having more black people in the films. Why not have a black villain? We want black villains. More black women. I mean, I would actually really love if they went down the dynamite route and had a black M, because I think that would work, because I think you can change the characters around you, because that's not noticeable. But if you change James Bond, that's going to be noticeable, and it's just, it's not going to sit right with a lot of people, and that's because they could well be racist, or it could be because with me, I feel like you're portraying Fleming. That's no longer James Bond. So it is it is an awkward conversation, but I'm trying to kind of get my feelings across, because I feel, interestingly, that it's not really, fans being worried about having a black James Bond, now Amazon have took over, doesn't seem to be ever seen. But I don't know if that's down to algorithms, but I'm sure, pretty certain, that is what's on the back of fans' mind. I'm not saying that all fans are against the idea. Fans, are open to it, fair enough. But for me and for a load of others, I just believe that James Bond needs to be white. I mean, why not sort of go out, because the Bond franchise has gained, no end of recognitions and all this, it's 60 odd years, it's the longest running cinematic franchise in history. Why not go for the 100-year cinematic history where the lead character has stayed the same, true to the novel, so there's just absolutely no need, because the thing is, there's never mention about a black Superman, no mention about a black Batman, no mention about a black Sherlock, no mention about a black Poirot. There's why are we so fixated on changing James Bond? It's all it. There's no need. I mean, the character has evolved over the 60 years without, still with white actors being cast. It's just, I don't know. I just flat out don't get it. So yeah, and I think that's probably another reason why they did what they did with No Time to Die. I think Barbara had kind of, I think they made a solid point. Whether it was Barbara's decision or not, I don't know. But the reason, I mean, what they did with Lashana Lynch and all that, I absolutely fucking loved. Because, I mean, I did kind of predict it, but I just think it just worked perfectly. To me, they were making the point that James Bond is white, but yet anybody can be 007. It could be a female. I mean, I could be 007. The brick wall could be 007. My dog could be. Anybody can be 007. It's a code. But people were still losing the shit about it. Oh no, 007 belongs to James Bond. Well, not necessarily. Bond's retired. I mean, I had some geezer on one of the forums saying, oh, well, did No Time to Die have 2 007s? No, because Lashana Lynch was 007 when James Bond was retired. If he's retired, he's still not going to be 007. He wasn't born with 007 branded on his forehead. He was born as James Bond. So I think they did that fantastically. And I actually found out the other day that Captain America is now black. In the comics, and I'm thinking, okay, how have they done that? Well, it's not Steve Rogers. I mean, if they made Steve Rogers black, then you're thinking, okay, that's how's that possible? But no, basically what they've done is they've just, I mean, I don't know how Captain America works. I don't know if they've rebooted it or if they've, I don't know, like if the title Captain America is like elected, I don't know, but there's some sort of black dude, totally different, not Steve Rogers, but somebody totally different, who's now Captain America. That's like James Bond, as we know, you can have a black 007 or female. You know, you can do what you like, but James Bond needs to be white. You know, yeah, it's a fictional character, but so is Sherlock, so is so is all the others. But there's never seemed to be so much sort of, kind of mention of that. So the media seems to be fixated on a black James Bond, and I feel that the media is going to sort of pressure Amazon into doing it. Now, if it goes for Black James Bond, I don't know. I don't know. People may lose interest, and the thing is, I mean, I think, it's to do with, obviously trying to eliminate racists and making us all as one and equal. I get that, absolutely get that, and thankfully, we live in a society which has totally changed from 70 years ago. We as a nation, as a society, as a world, we have moved on, and we have become so more accepting to, the things, aspects of life, and racism. It's sadly it's still out there, and it's not going to disappear overnight. And it's all about education. It's sort of educating today's generation to basically, don't exclude them because of the skin colour. We are the same blood. That is basically, and it's educating, your children and the today's generation to then pass it on. And one day, I mean, I would love more than anything to live in a world, like Elysium, where it's just peace and, there's no wars and everybody just lives in harmony. Would be absolute bliss. But the real world is there's always going to be war. There's always going to be something out there. So yeah, I mean, I totally get, but I kind of think that, making James Bond black isn't necessarily going to be the answer. And I might get shot down, I might get all sorts, but I'm trying my best. I mean, it is a very touchy subject, but the last thing I want to be doing. The thing is, I've had it before. As soon as you say that you're against a black James Bond, you are then branded as a racist. It's not. In my it's not me being racist, because I've got no issue with other races being in Bond films. I never have done. It's just you've got this character that is written as a white person, right? Years ago, there was somebody on the group, forums claiming, well, actually, technically, Fleming never described Bond, and his skin colour's unknown and all this and that. I thought, well, I mean, without going into the books and dissecting it, I don't actually know. But all I know, Casino Royale, Fleming described Bond as Hoagie Carmichael, who is a white American singer. You've got to then look at the book covers. Richard Chopping, Her Majesty's Secret Service, first edition. You've got what we can only assume is Bond's hand drawing his coat of arms. That hand is white. Fleming would have overseen that. You go to the Great Pan series of the 50s, 60s, where you had all the Sam Peffer artwork, white male. Fleming would have approved that. Bond, throughout the 60 years of film, is all white. You read The Search for Bond. There's nobody really considered. There's a black actor was never considered. It was all white. So, that's how it should be. James Bond is a white British secret agent. It's there in the comics. Faye Dalton's Photo Society is depicted as a white male, white British male, and if the next actor was black, I mean, I wouldn't be mad because, wouldn't be mad because he was black, that he was black. I would be mad because, they've now jumped on to this trend, which is, you know, to try and, you know, tick boxes and, you know, please the woke brigade. It's, you know, I just can't, you know, I think, you know, and the thing is, but it shouldn't, I mean, if Disney want to keep doing that, I know a few things on Channel 5. I mean, there's a Channel 5 documentary about Anne Boleyn a few years back, and she was also a black woman. I thought, okay. If you want to do that, fine. But there is really no need to change James Bond. I mean, I don't know how Make It in Black will bring in new audiences or new generation. I just don't know. You know, I mean, Bond has survived for 60 years. He can survive another 60 years if you know, if he's got the fandom and if Amazon play it right. But yeah, I know. I mean, it's a bit of a horrible episode because I don't know how it's going to go down. But you know, I say I'm kind of pretty much open. I kind of, you know, say how it is. But yeah, it's yeah. I mean, leave your comments beneath. But no, I mean, you know, Bond should be white, and Bond should not go into Marvel style cinematic universe. It's you know, it's not meant to be in that. It's, you know, give it a few spin-offs, but do not, you know, change it drastically. You know, don't deviate too much from the character that he, you know, is no longer James Bond, and do not totally kind of mess it up. That's all I'm saying. You know, that's what us fans are saying. So that's it, folks, for tonight. So